Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about one of the most repetitive and yet crucial sounds in our track, and that is the kick drum. So it's that single element we hear over and over again, both during the production and when the track is played. And because it's repetitive so often, even the smallest mistakes become obvious. For us producers, if the kick doesn't feel right, the entire track starts to fall apart. So designing a good kick takes time, a solid monitoring setup, and a deep understanding of the sound. And let's be honest, many producers spend days trying to shape the perfect kick, just to end up second-guessing everything. That's because the kick doesn't just drive the rhythm, it defines the emotion of the whole track. A deeper kick might create a hypnotic, atmospheric vibe. A sharp, mid-heavy kicks brings energy and make everything feel more in your face. So when you are starting a track, choosing the right kick is more than just picking the best sounding sample in your folder. It's choosing the emotional direction of the entire piece. Here is where today's video really begins. So recently I started exploring a new tool called Drum Clone, which uses AI to extract kicks from full tracks. You literally drop in the entire song and Drum Clone will isolate the kick for you. So is it a perfect extraction? Not really, but what it gives you is a very usable audio sample, one that you can study, reverse engineer, or even reshape into something new. But there is another trick which we can use, so we can take that extracted kick and drop it into the kick 3, as the kick 3 has an excellent feature that splits the kick into the sub and click layer, allowing you to resynthesize the kick from the audio. You can tweak that envelope, adjust the pitch curve, change the transient, and even completely reshape the top end. And then we can take a step further and we can add a top layer of our own, let's say some high frequency click or even a hi-hat on top of that kick to give it a bit more bite. In fact, I'll show you exactly how to do it in a practical part of this video. You will see how I shape that top layer and add clarity and more attack without overpowering the kick. So the Drum Clone is completely free and it's currently in beta, so you can download it and install it. Now back to the Cubase project. This is where I'm working on my track and I want to use a bit of this, my own track, so I don't get insulted to insult anyone else and chopping or ripping off their kicks. And once you install the Drum Clone, it comes in the form of VST instruments, so it's not a plugin. This is something that took me a while to understand. So Drum Clone, right, it comes in this way, so I can drag the audio and drop it inside, but it doesn't work that way, so I guess I cannot do it from this position. I'll most likely need to drop it from the browser. So I will drop it from the browser inside, and then I will just need to find where is that kick or the beginning of the bar or the loop. So I can do it from this position over here, so I need to drag and drop it over here. And then we can zoom in by clicking and sliding on the down and set to around which point we want to use it. And then we set the length, which is going to be to around 1/8, so just until beginning of this one. And then now by using my own track and the recording from this track, so this is something that I dropped inside. And I selected this first part, so I'm gonna add the Drum Clone over here and I'm gonna set the MIDI or like to play this kick. So we can A/B the original kick with this one. So will it extract it in the original? Of course it won't, but the idea isn't to steal someone's kick, is to learn how did they set up the envelope, how did they set up the pitch curve, like the start and frequency. So the kick that I used, the original one, sounds like this. And the Drum Clone is. So what I'm able to hear at first is that that transient is missing, that top end hi-hat or whatsoever, so it's not one by one. But something that we can do in general is that I can bounce this now to audio, something like this. Then I can insert kick 3, and the reason why I'm inserting kick 3 is that it's going to give me ability after it resynthesize it to change or modify certain parameters. So kick 3, and I will drop this kick. I will just bounce it this way, and I will add a little bit of fade out over here. So I'm gonna just cut this extra, which is from the MIDI and everything. I'm gonna bounce it once again. So now we have bounced from the drum clone, and I'm gonna add the kick 3 inside my project, and I'm gonna drag and drop this audio inside kick 3. It's gonna ask me, do I want to sample import? I'm gonna go analyze, and then I'm gonna insert analyze and import. So it's gonna create two layers. One is going to be the sub layer, this one, and another one is going to be this punch. So now I'm able to see or to understand what is actually going on. I can turn off this, and then so now I have resynthesized that kick, even though it doesn't sound close to original like this one. It's kind of far away from it, but still it's gonna add the sub layer or the frequency, like the start point, the end point. It's gonna do it pretty close. At least it was my previous examples where I was testing it. So now I have the kick 3, the original. So are they the same? No, they are not, but this is not that we are looking something to have exactly the same in someone else. What I'm usually doing is I want to see what the start frequency is when they design the kicks, as I used to use always from 20K, and I realized that might be too much because it's not only when it starts, it's also about the second part of the kick or where this drop is. Also, I want to see or which frequency it ends up, but this is in many cases almost the same. It's always to around 48, 45, 50, and this is something that I teach to everyone, that I believe it's the best or it's the sweet spot to place your end frequency from 45 to 50 hertz, even though I would always consider in pulling it to closer to a 45, because that means that the bigger part of the kick will oscillate on 50 hertz, which is the best, or in my opinion, it's a low-end sweet spot, and it's one of the most pleasant and enjoyable frequencies. I know that many of you want to tune your kicks. You can do whatever you want. This is my technique and something that I believe brings me very, very nice results. Aside from the pitch curve, I can also see the envelope. Maybe I can change the pitch a little bit, etc., etc. So it's going to give me a start point, but also the most important, it's going to always provide me the most important information. This is the shape of the curve, the length of the kick, which is most likely for the length of 1/8 of your BPM, etc., etc. So I'm going to use now this kick 3 resynthesized part. And I'm going to show you how to add, and I'm using Nerve for this, how to add that top end, which is very, very giving something very unique to most of the kicks, and something that's kind of give a character to the kick, because beside that top end, everything else is kind of low end. We have that punch, we have that mids, we have that click on the mids. Top end punch is the most effective one to create a different character of the kick. So I love using Nerve because it's a sampler and step sequencer in the same time. I'm choosing the velocity of the sample, and then I can go to load, and I will go inside of my sample library, and I'm gonna find the Kashmir, as I know that some of the Kashmir samples will work very well. So I'm gonna go to drums, to cymbals, I'm gonna go to closed hi-hats. So I'm gonna add the hi-hat on top of that kick. And I spent enormous amount of time in finding the right way to add the hi-hat, and I thought it's all about the selection and which hi-hat we're going to choose. But in general, I realized that I was missing a certain technique, which is just making almost all of them to sound very nice. So I'm going to insert a Pro C2. I'm going to add the threshold all the way down, so almost compressing it at 0. And now when I play it, and I set this like, I'm not able to hear it, but if I set the attack to around 50, even a little bit more. And then if I list through these hi-hats, I can even pitch this hi-hat a little bit. Or something like this, I can play with the start time or start position. This one sounds very decent. Now look, I know some of you might be thinking, is this a bit unethical, using kicks extracted from someone else's tracks? That's a valid concern, and I leave that ethical side up to each individual. Personally, I use these tools for learning and analysis, not for copying. I already have a kick pack with over 30 original kicks on my website, designed by me for various different emotions and directions. I'm not short on the kicks, but I still use this tool like Drum Clone when I want to study how a certain kick or track was built. It's like a referencing. It helps me improve, spot mistakes in my own kicks, or understand how others shape their envelopes, frequency curves, or lengths. That's why I believe that it is very valuable use of these tools, so not for copying, but for learning. And for those of you who want to go even deeper into the sound design, kick shaping, groove development, or arrangement, I also teach this in my sound design course, which you can find on my website. And this October from 14th till 20th, I'm hosting an in-person course at Boomland, the sacred venue of the Boom Festival. It's a hands-on experience surrounded by nature, where a small group of producers will dive deep into the production with me. If you're serious about learning, this is a place to be. So back to today's video, the point is not just to hype the new tech, but to show you how to use it smartly, how to speed up your workflow, improve your decisions, and understand your sound better. So Drum Clone plus Kick 3 is a great combo, especially when you are pairing it with the smart layering, like adding the hi-hat transient to give your kick that professional edge. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon with some more videos. Stay tuned. Bye.